Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special, very peculiar episode of the Killer Kaiju podcast. This is a bonus episode today, and as promised, we are ranking the entire Showa series that we just covered on our podcast. As always, it's Lucas and Josh. Say hi, buddy.
Hey, what's up? Hi.
And so today's a really interesting ranking. There's a lot of these movies ranked all over the internet, and we understand that. And I know that we're going to be some opinions you don't agree with because these are our opinions. And the reason that makes that so special is the fact that I've seen these movies millions of times, and Josh has seen all of them once, except for the original. We watched that one twice because it's phenomenal.
That was a really good movie. Plus, it was a test run, so
yeah, exactly. To see exactly what the movies were about and like to pretty much expose Josh to the world of Godzilla. And that's the best one to do it with. So what makes these rankings so interesting, obviously, is the fact that you get kind of two opinions on the rankings. And they're from two different spectrums. One person who's obsessed and since the day where they were born, and one person who's just newly introduced to the series and have their opinion as well. So today's going to be a really fun ranking. So there's 15 movies in the Showa series. We did cover Rodan and Mothra in our podcast, except for those aren't included in the Godzilla Showa ranking that we're doing today. This is strictly just the Godzilla films 1 through 15 that we will be ranking. For those who are wondering, these are all the Japanese versions. In case you haven't been on our podcast, we have watched all of the Japanese versions of these movies with the English subtitles. So they're all just the enhanced ones off the Criterion collection. So no North American releases like Godzilla King of the Monsters, no Gigantus the Fire Monster, none of that shit here.
Boo.
And it goes without being said, spoilers for all the movies because we will be discussing little facts and the plots of each movie as we rank through them. So without further ado, I'd like to get started each by just kind of Josh and I each giving our kind of overall opinion of the Showa era and what we thought of them and if they were what we expected they were going to be like from Josh's angle going into the Showa series. So Josh, what did you think going into the Godzilla film series? What did you think they were going to be like to what you saw? Was it what you imagined?
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of memes, to be honest. So I kind of, I had an idea on what I was getting myself into. A lot of them held my attention for the most part. A lot of them started where you had to watch like an hour of footage and then like 20 minutes. That's my personal hatred for the movies thus far, is that it's like a lot of build up and not as much of a climax payoff as I expected. Yeah, as I expected. But then again, I'm also thinking of newer movies for the most part. It's kind of hard when you live in 2021 and COVID, where you're just binge watching everything. So now when you go back and watch these movies, you're like, oof. But exactly. I did really enjoy the whole adventure all the way through. It wasn't a bad time at all. I enjoyed every time. We got to talk shit about some of them. There's parts that I thought were super hilarious, but overall, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
And I feel like too, coming like from you said, like the memes and the trailers and all the stuff people talk about, it's obviously always, like you said, the Godzilla classic. The last 20-30 minutes of the film are always the cream of the crop. And that's like, when you go rewatch them, a lot of people just skip to the ending and watch the ending for the kaiju fights. And I feel like
you can make an entire movie of just the 20 minutes at the end.
Yeah, again, there's videos like that, like all the fight scenes, and then you can just watch them and group them all like that, kind of like Dragon Ball Z's abridged type deal.
I know what I'm binge watching tonight.
Yeah.
Just the fight scenes.
Just the fight scenes. Just don't get into the Heisei ones because you don't want any spoilers there.
Not yet.
So basically, I know that at least when I watched the Showa films growing up, I saw them a lot differently as a kid, and coming back and rewatching them with Josh and doing this podcast, I thought I would learn to hate them a little more because I loved them growing up, and I thought, like these films aren't going to age well. Like the obvious, in our generation, the obvious film that never aged well was Indian in the Cupboard. If y'all have ever seen that movie,
that was a bomb movie.
Don't watch it these days because it did not age well and it ruined
Dark
it for
Boy,
me.
Lava Girl, Spy Kids. There's a few of them I can think of.
Exactly. And I thought that's what was going to happen with these movies. And honestly, I can say that I learned to love them more rewatching them with Josh and for this podcast. And I think that could attribute a lot to maybe how I truly love them, and I loved shooting facts and talking about them with somebody, because growing up no one wanted to watch these with me. I watched them alone in my room. My parents didn't even want to watch them with me because they didn't like them that much. So I thought that maybe I wasn't going to like them coming back, but I feel like definitely being able to talk to it with somebody and share my experience and my love for the Big G maybe had a little bit of play into why I love them. But I also learned to appreciate looking up facts and all the innings behind the movies, the behind the scenes drama, how some of the special effects were done and why they were kind of, lesser quality than North American films. I didn't really understand, especially as a kid, how films were so much more popular in North America and how they ran a big part of our economy, while somewhere like Japan, that was like, not on the high list of priorities in a post-nuclear Japan. So I never really had that opinion growing up. And I feel like that made me appreciate the movies a lot more going through them today. So with a little bit of background information of what we thought there running over the Showa series, we're still just watched, I think we watched the first Heisei 1984 Godzilla before doing this. So we have a completely clean slate. We're not getting bleeding any bloody water from Showa to Heisei. So we have a pretty strong opinion on the Showa films without being biased or blinded by the future quality of other films, which is why we decided to do these first. So without further ado, people, how we're going to do this ranking is we're going to go from 15 to 1, 15 being our least favorite, 1 being our top movie. And we'll pretty much ping pong back and forth as we move through our list. We'll give reasons on why we thought it was the best or the worst. And we might butt heads a few times and have a conflicting opinions. But hey, that's what opinions are all about. And we're going to discuss them and get through it with you guys today. So without further ado, folks, we're going to dive right in and get this party started. Are you ready, Josh?
Yep.
All right. So coming in at the 15 spot, being our least favorite of the Showa series, what do you got for number 15, Josh?
Son of Zilla.
The son of Godzilla, aka Boglin.
Yeah, Boglin child.
Yeah.
Honestly, my 14 and 15 are basically like equal. Like
Equal
you could
hatred.
interchange them. Yeah, I was like, you could interchange them if you like, but
Now, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was like, I don't want to like spoil my 14, but like, I feel like people will know if you know what I'm up or what's up on this one.
Yeah, if you hate Son of Godzilla, you can pretty much guess if you've seen the Showa films which one's going to be next for Josh. Now, is there any like positives about the movie? Is it 15 because you absolutely hate it and there's nothing you like about it, or is it just your least favorite out of them all?
I would have to say it's definitely my least favorite out of all of them, because like the character wise, I'm like, who wants to focus on Manila as a main character? 1, 2, it wasn't what I was expecting for a Son of Godzilla. Like I literally was expecting a miniature version of him that was still going to cause ruckus. Instead, we got this weird Boglin.
It was very much Manila that ruined it for you then, eh?
Yeah, and like it's a story that's mostly based around him and then Godzilla kind of trying to teach him.
Okay.
But like, nah.
Yeah.
Just nah.
I can see that.
Thing. Compared to like, especially when you do watch all the other ones, because at that point we've at least watched probably like 7 or so. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, we were at like I'd say about 7 or 8.
We've gotten some really good character development, some monsters. So like that was a letdown. Like for me, when you were like Son of Godzilla, and I was like, oh, maybe, that sounds promising. No. I see why you were like, nah, just wait until you watch it. Like now I know why.
And it, just for future reference, folks, just to be correct, it is the 8th film in the series. I just had to quickly check that.
Oh, okay, because I was like, I don't know, 7th or 8th, because I was making a wild guess. So good job, Josh.
It was pretty close, one off, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I understand why Son of Godzilla is that low. It's not high by any means on mine. So by the way, folks, these first batch of 3 films are our low tier movies, just so you know. That's kind of how they're separated out. And I think we can both agree why these 3 are the low tiers. For 15, for myself, I have a similar opinion with Son of Godzilla. However, I have All Monsters Attack, aka Godzilla's Revenge, as my 15, which I'm sure a lot of people who are watching, if they've seen that movie, and I know Josh agrees that it's definitely low on the list too. It's because it's essentially Son of Godzilla, but with kind of a unique spin take on it. With the kid obviously dreaming he's in Monsterland, and it does flashback footage of Son of Godzilla and Ever Horror of the Deep. It was the first film to really reuse a lot of stock footage, and it was aimed at kids, and that's 2 things I'm not a fan of, is laziness and a lot of kids. So for me, All Monsters Attack, it has its merits. Like I did like how it was kind of trying to, project upon like poverty and parents not being them for their kids during the times in Japan because there was an economic crisis. And I like that kind of angle of it, but I really didn't like seeing the reused stock footage. And Not to mention they reuse some footage that doesn't make sense, like when Eberhor of the Deep and the Condor attacks. They reuse that footage, and they could have easily just left that scene out completely. And because they reuse stock footage, the suit changes from scene to scene, and that's a real nitpick with me. I just a little nitpick I just did. Wasn't a fan of it that way. And I think a lot of people can agree that it's probably definitely the worst one of them anyway. Which kind of agrees with Josh's being Son of Godzilla, because like it pretty much is the same film. But I guess because it's a little more faster cut through and it has a different angle story element, I can see why maybe it's higher on Josh's list because then Son of Godzilla anyway, because of the fact that it's a little more interesting, because Son of Godzilla has a pretty slow story to it.
Well, since
So
clearly that's going to be my 14, like,
yeah.
all monsters attack. So like, even just to get on that, how you don't like the, like how it's aimed at the kids. I kind of like that. Cause like, I'm thinking about in the Godzilla business, aspect, you'd be like, let's aim it for the kids. And like, I kind of liked the daydreaming part. That's kind of where I was like, it's a little better than the other one. Cause I also was just chilling, watching it with you. And like, even for 15 and 14, we were able to have good laughs and still laugh at like weird moments in it. And it was fun, but that doesn't make it a good movie.
Yeah.
So like 15 and
Exactly.
14. So there are little points where I'm like, I could appreciate that, but like reusing footage, that's a negative already. Like you've basically already touched on all the points for my 14.
All right. Well, that worked out kind of perfectly then.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was like 15 and 14 will go fast.
Yeah, the first three will honestly go by pretty fast because they're just terrible. There's not much that needs to be explained about them. For 14, my 14, then Josh is being all monsters attack 14. My 14th is might be an unpopular opinion, but my 14th is Godzilla Raids Again. Now it's not because I want to say this clearly. Besides All Monsters Attack, the rest of these films I really love. Like I like a lot. This is my least favorite, and I'll get into my nitpicky things about Godzilla Raids Again and what I loved about it and what really puts it low on the list for me. The main reason that puts Godzilla Raids Again low on the list for me, and by the way, this is the Japanese version, not Gigantus the Fire Monster, is I'm a really big lover of, surprisingly, the plots in Godzilla movies. I like the build up. I like the first hour of the films a lot because I find in the show they get really different and they try and experiment with a lot of weird ideas and silly things. Sometimes they get a little repetitive, like as we get further on our list, we'll mention the invasion alien plots and stuff like that. They get a little repetitive. But what I like about Godzilla Raids Again is I do like that it's the first time we get to see Godzilla fight another kaiju, because obviously in the first one it's just Godzilla destroying the city, being a destructive force, and I like to finally see him fight Anguirus. And I like that it's very animalistic, like they're biting onto each other and there's a lot of destructions. And as Josh mentioned when we watched it too, I'm sure he'll mention it in his ranking when he gets to it, the miniatures are really well done. They're just like a step above the first one in ways. But it's still black and white, so it does hide a lot of blemishes and a lot of issues that the film might have had that way. So those are like the positives I can say about it. The negatives are clearly, just for me, are the fact that they never really get to know any of the characters. It's very like a fast film. It's one of the shortest films. I think its running time is like an hour and 10 minutes. It's super short, mainly because the film came out almost the same year, if not barely after the first Gojira, because they wanted to rush it out of production to try and make a quick buck because the first one did so well, right? So it was kind of a cash grab, which bothered me a little bit. And the fact that when the Godzilla versus Anguirus fight, they overcranked the film, or undercranked the film, so it caused it to be really fast and kind of comedic. I guess I feel like that kind of took away a lot. And some of the close-ups they use on some of the suits aren't the best looking. Like in Gojira, they really keep the camera far back and only have a few like hand puppet scenes where they do close-ups, which didn't age well. And I get that, but it's a little unexcusable when you get to Raids Again and they just have close-ups of the suit and it's just rough, especially with Anguirus. I feel like he's just looked better in the future, but for his first appearance, it was still good. But I just felt it was kind of a rushed film and there wasn't anything too special to take away from it for me, but I still loved it and enjoyed it. And it's still a great film, being the last black and white one. So that's why it's my number 14, but I still like it as a film. All right. So we have one more film for our low tier. And what's your 13th film, Josh? What do you got for 13?
I got Godzilla versus Hedorah. It wasn't an overall bad movie, and I know people might get upset with me, but like I wasn't personally a big fan of the whole political thing. The fish head thing was just wild, especially with like just the dance scenes. Why even have it?
The
And I think
70s, man.
I just don't understand it. Overall, I don't like the design of the kaiju itself. It looks like a weird, like if they looked at Pokemon and they looked at Muck and they were like, let's just combine the two, like that and a UFO.
It very much just looks like a bunch of blankets with, mixed concrete on it, which is
Yeah,
essentially
I
what it
just
was.
wasn't a big fan of it. And then you also made Godzilla fly, so
Well, you weren't a
which
fan of
could have
Hedorah's vagina eyes?
been no, that was also weird. So with the balls.
Yeah, he rips out his
Like,
eyes, but they look like his
yeah,
testicles.
and I'm like, Jesus. Like that movie was really interesting. It had some pluses, but that's definitely on my lower person.
It just wasn't as enjoyable as the other films for you. That's basically
Yeah.
it.
It was more wild than I was expecting. And
Yeah.
we were already getting into wild movies, so
And that was kind of the first one that really breaks the mold, because that was the first time I believe Ishiro Honda wasn't directing, right? And
yeah,
it was
that's where Bono comes out.
Yeah,
and you're just like,
Yoshimitsu
oh,
Bono.
okay. So you're like, let's try someone different. Which when you told me that at first, I was like, all right, let's see. And then we got fishing heads and dancing people, and I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore, man. I thought this whole podcast was about a giant radioactive lizard messing up the world, basically, or like other kaijus, and then we get dancing fish heads.
And he's the savior. I feel like that's like one of the first ones where he's like the savior of the earth too. Like he's out to save the earth in that one, right? So it's the first time he's depicted as a hero, which you already quoted you don't like.
Yeah.
So.
I like the villainess moment of it. Why wouldn't you, right? Like he's supposed to be scary.
Yep.
When he's a hero to me, he looks like a soft little puppy dog kind of moment. I'm like, I don't like that. You're losing it.
Like you're like, I don't want to fist bump Godzilla. I want to get fisted by Godzilla.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see a building get fisted.
Metaphorically.
Lucas isn't lying.
Oh, baby. So
you're 13.
13 for me. I mean, a lot of people can probably guess this. Son of Godzilla. Again, it's not like I hate it by any means. There is a lot of merit to it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I think Josh did, and the reasons I enjoy it is I really love the the Kamacuras. I really love the giant praying mantis, the Kamacuras, and Kumonga in that movie. I think the puppetry work on them is so impressive, and I think to me that kind of idea really overshadows all the Manila dad bullshit that again I don't like at all. I really hate it. I think it's cute and funny, and it is what it is. And then the ending's got a sappy little thing, how he keeps Manila warm. And I mean, if you're a parent, I get how you can relate to that, but I am not a parent, and I am never going to be. And that reflects my opinion on Son of Godzilla very heavily. So it's a little biased, but I mean, personal opinion, right? It just wasn't for me for that reason. And I do like, it has its merits. Like I like how they have the weather controlling thing on the island, and that's what created all these monsters and creatures. So they kind of dug themselves their own grave, essentially, because they're doing these tests. That's what creates the Kamacuras and Kumonga, and that's what makes Godzilla live there because of the radiation they're using. So and then they all get sick in the end anyway, and the islanders have to help. And I like that idea of it, but yeah, Son of Godzilla is a no, and I understand why. There's not much really to say on that. Besides, I will like to give Manila the benefit of the doubt, though. For a lot of people will think like, why does he look so weird? And the only way, and we talked about this in the podcast, Son of Godzilla kind of gives you the explanation on why Manila might be weird. Because his egg was, he was premature because the egg didn't hatch. The egg was just laying there, and the Kamacuras came and broke it open and kind of tried to eat him. And that's why he's really squishy when he's first born, because he's a premature baby, essentially. And that's why his growth kind of is stunned, and he never grows up over the future movies.
He's a boglin.
But that is there's not a lot of merit to this movie. That's me really digging, trying to say something good about it. So that's why it's my 13 and in my low tier list, as it's in Josh's as well. So that being 15, 14, 13th, we are moving into medium tier categories. So these are movies necessarily that we would probably go back and watch again. I feel like we can safely say, right, Josh?
Yeah. I mean, I would watch them. I had some enjoyment.
So that's kind of where medium tier is, just so you guys can gauge it. Low tier is ones we probably won't watch willingly again.
I mean, I would go back if you were like, let's go back and watch Son of Godzilla just to laugh at it. Now I know what I'm prepared for, and I would just die laughing. So I get it.
Not be
But
so
I just,
attentive.
yeah, but like other than that, that's not really something I would personally go and put in on a Friday night. You
So
maybe.
yeah, medium tier then. We'll get more into films that you could probably see us going back to and that we generally enjoyed and had a good time with. So at number 12, Josh, what did you have for your number 12th kaiju film?
I had Ebra Horror of the Deep. It has Eye Patch Man, so like clearly that's my favorite actor
Uh,
amongst this entire
Akiko
series
Harata.
list. Yes,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm terrible with names always
who
for the
was
rest of
our
my life.
he was our Dr. Serizawa for those who don't know in the original Gojira.
Yep, that's also, when that comes. But anyways, Eye Patch Man is like 10 out of 10. That's like you already got a plus 10 for that one. Okay,
He's a
so
villain
anyways,
in that one
so
too.
yeah. So like that's one of the like the extra little bonuses because it's always like that weird mystery kind of moment. And then we also get the shrimp monster thing, which is like a lobster / prawn thing. So like it was funny. I don't know, like all right, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
It's creative, I guess. And then when they started spraying all the pee into the air and stuff, like I found myself laughing a lot more than I expected in that one. And it might have been a little cheesy, or like again, this is all my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not amazing, but I found myself laughing a lot more than I expected. So
Yeah.
I was pretty into it.
I'll chime in with you here too, because 12th is also Ebra for me, Ebra Horror of the Deep. We both have that as our 12. And I think a lot of the reasons too we really enjoyed it is it was a really colorful film.
Oh,
Like
yes.
I feel like
And
they
then
shot
like
it in the
the
different scope.
sets were like wild.
Yeah. And there's different things we didn't like about it, like the condor attack where the random bird attacks him, and it's just all those really quick cuts and it makes you sick. And there's a lot of
How about
silly
that?
silly plot devices like the girl picking up the pigeon and the wire that they electrocute Godzilla and bring him back with lightning. And
But those are like all the reasons why they're funny. At least to me, like I just found myself, especially with like you were saying earlier, having another friend to like, just talk to these about and like talk through them.
Yeah.
It just makes it 10 times better and more enjoyable for me.
And I think we can both agree, one of our favorite moments in that one was when the islanders who were being held captive there to make the product to keep Ebra the monster away from the island and the military, they try to escape and they go out on the raft, and then Ebra comes up and like eats them, and like the practical effects on Ebra and like them, it like looked really good, and like they did underwater shots for the first time, which we both thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, like just trying to break the fourth wall, I guess.
Yeah. And I liked how it brought back, I mean, I know it happens in Ghidorah the three-headed monster first, which we'll get to, and I guess King Kong versus Godzilla as well, but in this one it brings back the rock fight with catching rocks and throwing rocks at each other, which is very silly, and me and Josh had quite the laugh at. I think it's funnier in this one because he's a lobster, so he like catches it with his claw. Well, like in the other ones, they were like hitting the rock with their heads or actually catching it with their hands, and it made no sense why Emra was able to play catch with a rock.
It's like one of those dads at a baseball game that just sticks his hand up in the air and catches the ball.
Yeah. You're ruining the game, Dad.
Stop. My signature ball.
I know one thing we really thought was weird about Abira too was it was actually supposed to be, as we talked about in the podcast, it was supposed to be a King Kong film. And last minute they switched the rights to Godzilla instead, but they didn't really change the screenplay. So like Godzilla has like a love interest with one of the native islanders, and it's really kind of weird and awkward. And there's a lot of scenes that you're like, clearly this should have been Kong, but it was Godzilla. So I know that bugged us a lot while we were watching it. And I think I told Josh while we were watching it, but I'm sure even without telling him, at the end he would have been like, that was a little uncharacteristic of Godzilla, wasn't it?
I was thinking it for a lot of it, and then when you said it, I'm like, makes sense, but also made me laugh again because that's just ridiculous. You're like, let's just reuse it, replace the kaiju or monster, whatever.
Good enough.
Go with it. Yeah, whatever.
All right, we won't tread too much water. LOL on this one. Sorry for saying LOL out loud, guys. I hit myself for that. It's okay.
Could have just laughed.
God damn it. So what do we have for number 11, Josh? What do you got for the number 11th in medium tier?
See, now I'm scared because you said that I might get judged for this one, but this is my own opinion, and it's because I'm not a fan of King Kong, but it's going to be King Kong versus Godzilla. And you know what? It also might be because of the way that we were watching it too, because I feel like I was because it's the first one in color.
Yep.
And it had some saviors. Like it's not bad. It's still like I would
Taco.
go back and watch it, right? Like it's got taco and stuff. Like it's got the live octopus scenes. But like I was prepared for a black and white movie, and then when we started watching it, I was like, "Fuck, this is in color."
Pretty sure that was the first time Kong was even in color.
Yeah, so like that's where for myself I was like, the costumes didn't look very good, at least in my opinion.
I
Like for
agree.
the time period, I get it, but they didn't look very good. So it's not really high in my I'm gonna go back and watch again. But personally, I'm not big into the whole giant monkey thing. I'd rather watch Godzilla
Yeah,
terrorize the city.
I feel that.
Like I'm more of the villain than the hero kind of thing, but like the suit was not very good.
And yeah, the Kong one, especially when it got wet. Ugh.
Like when like I did like the scenes like when he rolls into like the water and shit like that. Like there are some good parts, and Taco definitely saved that movie, and we had some good laughs at that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically that's my 11. It's not
All right.
overall bad, but it's not great.
It's all right, guys. You can spread and send your hate in the comments section.
Hate us. Hate on me. Please don't.
That being said, if you guys want to tell us your opinion and what your rank is, honestly, we would love to see your guys' own rankings. Definitely post them below in the comments or sending us messages out to any of we're Killer Kaiju Cast on Twitter. You can also just, email us or Facebook us as well at killerkaijupodcast@gmail.com, or, just hit us up on Facebook with the old post or message, or YouTube comment below. All right, guys, enough with the little advertising there. But we honestly do want to see your opinion because, opinions are great. That's why we're doing this right now. That's why we started this podcast, so I could see other people's opinions like Josh. So 11 for me. So 11 was King Kong versus Godzilla for Josh. 11 for me is Godzilla versus Hedorah. I know this one was a little low on Josh's list, and I definitely see why. The things I do like about this film are very much, a lot of them are behind the scenes reasons why I love them. This is the first film we get one of my favorite Godzilla suit actors, Kenpachiro Satsuma. He plays Hedorah in this one, and the behind the scenes story of, him getting appendicitis during filming, and he had to be operated on in the kaiju suit and all that jazz, and then his painkillers didn't work and all the hardship he had to go through. Already that alone kind of makes me want to like this film more, to see what all the shit they went through to get there. Things I don't like about it, why it's a little lower on my list too, are definitely the quality of it is a little meh, and some of the ideas are a little out there. Like the fish head scene's a little out there for me. I understand it's the 70s, but it wasn't a big thing. Yeah, exactly. And I did not like Godzilla flying. I actually do not like that. It's funny, but it's very uncharacteristic of Godzilla. He does some sillier things and he gets random powers in the future, but I think this is definitely the weirdest and most out of place one for that point anyway. I do, however, love the fact that this takes a little bit of a different approach, and it goes towards the anti-pollution message rather than the nuclear fallout and nuclear weapon kind of idealism that's present in a lot of the earlier Godzilla films. The other thing I do really love about this one is the fact that Ken, the kid, his name's Ken in that one, I believe. Yeah, Ken. He kind of almost has like a psychological connection with Godzilla, like almost like he can communicate with him and like feel him. I think that's like the first time we get that, besides Mothra versus Godzilla, with the Shobijin and that the fairies being able to listen to Mothra and Godzilla and Rodan. But I feel like in this one, it's the first time we get to see a human, kind of have that ESP kind of connection with them. I really do enjoy that. But like I said, the quality of the film, the silliness of it really takes away from it. But it's definitely, I love that movie. I rewatch it all the time. I definitely enjoy it, but I just, the other films I definitely enjoy more after it. That's the reason it's that low on my list. All right. So that would be 11. Josh, what do you have for number 10?
For number 10, I have Destroy All Monsters. I don't know, man. That was a good one. I enjoyed it. The giant fight all over, so you get a lot of kaijus. So that was a nice plus. I was gonna say,
like, that's why it's great.
Like it had some build up, which was kind of wait a little bit, but I feel like it was rewarding overall though, because it had to develop each certain kaiju, them coming to form into like the one place to fight. So yeah, it took a while, but I really enjoyed it overall. Like it also had that guy jumping out the window, so that was like and a hilarious scene that I just was not expecting. Like even my girlfriend walked out and she just looked at the screen and just walked away, and I was just like, yeah.
No, then she too jumped out the window.
Pretty much. I had the weird Martian, so that I mean, they got a lot of space.
Yeah,
and
the
Martians in these
Kilaaks were
movies than I
kind of weird.
expected.
I feel like the Kilaaks in that one were like the lower tier of the aliens that we've gotten so far, for sure.
But if I'm correct, I could be wrong because it's been a while since giant blur of movies at this point. That's the better Rodan costume, correct? Like the one where he doesn't look so chunky in the neck.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So like that was even the better part for that one, where it made me a lot happier seeing that, because like the last Rodan, it just looked like a guy's head. Or he swallowed
the three-headed monster. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know, man.
He looks really bad in Ghidorah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. But that was a good one. I enjoyed that. So that's my number 10.
Yeah. 10 for me on the topic of it is I might get a lot of hate for this one. This is Josh has his King Kong versus Godzilla low, which he might get bitched at. Mine is also equally bitch-attable. It's my word I'm coining for the day. Bitch-attable. Mine 10 is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. I'm just waiting for Josh to boo me.
I was already going to. I just didn't think I had to add it in there. You knew how I felt about the boo. Ghidorah's the shit.
No, I agree. And I honestly, what I'm going to say, I'm going to tell you my favorite things about this movie first. I love the team up. I love the ending fight between Mothra, Godzilla, Rodan, all teaming up together, and the Shobijin, like we were mentioning in the last I think we were talking about psychic people in Hedorah. I like how the Shobijin like communicate with them and tell them kind of what they're saying, and how Mothra's trying to like, tell Godzilla and Rodan to stop fighting and being children, and like to team up and fight Ghidorah because he's the real threat. I definitely like that. However, the ending fight scene is great. It takes too long to get there. And that's one of my biggest
All
issues.
These movies do.
I know, but I feel like this one has the most, like, the least interesting plot with the woman from, Venus, and she's like, oh, Ghidorah erased and destroyed our culture. Like, bitch, you're still alive. Your culture is alive. But I didn't like the whole like mind control thing, and I don't know. I liked it. There were definitely some things I love about it, and like it being Ghidorah's first appearance, like great and like awesome. And I love the way Ghidorah appears. And I love the ending fight scene. And it's actually a little longer than, let's say Destroy All Monsters, like 10-minute fight scene that we build up to, and it's only 10 minutes, as Josh was bitching about in the last ranking he had there. I agree with you there. And I don't know. I just felt like as we get further in the list, there's just other movies where Ghidorah is better used and better represented. So it's not like the biggest love for me, but I definitely will watch it again. I definitely do like it, and I watch it often, but more of like a nostalgic throwback than a movie I really want to enjoy watching. Like if I think of Ghidorah movies, there's definitely at least 2 others I would watch before that one, in my opinion. And that's just kind of that. That's my number 10 anyway. Did you say your number 10 already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You sound like Forrest Gump, by the way. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
After you said, I was
love
like, oh,
you,
man.
Godzilla.
Yeah, basically.
I love you, Ghidorah. So number 9, Josh. What's your number 9?
Mothra versus Godzilla is my number 9. I don't know. I liked it. I liked, because if you, like we were talking about before, we watched a few other ones, so it isn't the first time that Mothra showed up, right? Or is this the first time? No, it isn't. So for myself, I guess it's just Mothra isn't my favorite character as a kaiju. It's a lot of buildup. It's a lot of work to just kind of get to where it's going.
Yeah,
and then in the end, it's just kind of like not as like I expect a spooky, like, kind of something. And then we got a giant cocoon turd thing rolling around the ground and a butterfly in the air for like 10 minutes, maybe.
I will say one thing about that movie. I wish that the moth, like Mothra form moth, was the ending fight scene and not the 2 larvae.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they should have built up with the larva turning into the moth and not the other way around.
Yeah. See, but like that's kind of where I was at. Like I liked the other one a little better just because of the fact that it's very underwhelming when you're promised Mothra. And I know for someone that, has watched this, they understand there's different versions, but like I was not expecting little worm guys crawling around. I was expecting, like a big old moth.
Yeah.
So it was good. And it had, I was definitely entertained by it. And it did have better graphics. compared to like the last one. So
And
like,
I will say for people who don't know, the
all
little
right.
saving grace for Josh too.
And also the suit fire was pretty rad.
Yeah, we also watched Mothra, like the standoff Mothra film as well, that isn't included in this ranking. And I
Yeah,
feel like
sorry.
Josh would hold that one a lot higher in esteem than
That's
this
kind of
one.
where I'm at, because I keep thinking of the other one. I'm like, but I liked the other one better.
Mm-hmm. I
And
agree.
like
I think the villain was better.
that's where I'm kind of like, when I think about this one, I'm just like, it's just, this one's kind of meh to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Son of Godzilla to the other movie, because then in the end, or the All Monsters Attack and Son of Godzilla, I'm like, it's basically the same shit, different day.
Yeah, exactly. I
Like,
understand that.
I just liked the other one, but the one plus I did like about this one is because they used the same Mothra suit, correct? Like
Yes.
like
yes,
they aged, like it sat for a while. So I did like that it looked a little better in the end of it being more dusty and kind of stuff, because the other one looked super new.
And it makes sense why she dies and the other
Yeah.
Mothra come on. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
like it has a good story. I was thoroughly entertained. I was just let down with, I was expecting more moth battle.
But still higher
Overall.
than Ebra and Godzilla versus Hedorah. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
and that was your number 9, right? We're at number 9 now.
Yes, sir.
All right. So my number 9 is King Kong versus Godzilla. And I know I have it a lot higher than Josh. And honestly, a lot of that can contribute to just nostalgic factor. You know, this to me, this was like, I knew going into this movie that this was like the highest attended. I mean, I think still till today, it holds the highest attendance in theaters than any other Godzilla film ever. And that was simply because at the time, you know, it was like America, Japan versus, you know, and like it had like two big, larger than life kaijus that were equally popular. Like Kong was equally popular in Japan, like he was in North America. Same with, you could arguably say the same about Godzilla with Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like, I feel like at this point, Godzilla was a pretty worldwide known name. Maybe not they've seen it, but they knew who he was. And the fact that they were bringing like two classic titans together, it was like the biggest boxing match of all time. Now I will say this, the movie is very silly and the Kong suit is atrocious. That's just outright boom, done. The Kong suit looks bad. This is the first time, as Josh quoted when he was ranking his, it's first time in color. So, I mean, seeing the suit in color for the first time, especially Godzilla, was a little off-putting. The Godzilla suit looked good, but from the side, but from the front, it looked very unproportionate and a little weird. But for me, the reason I love it and hold it in high esteem is because I do like a lot of like the special effects work, like the live octopus scene and stuff like that, like Josh was talking about. And I really enjoy the ending fight scene, which takes way too long to get there. But when Kong finally is carried by balloon and he dropped on the mountain and they really start to get at it, I think there's a lot of comedic elements to their fight, which is funny. Like, you know, when Godzilla breathes his atomic breath for the first time and hits Kong, and Kong's like, what the fuck was that? And then just kind of walks away and admits defeat and like, I'm a bitch. And then there's moments, you know, where like he gets buried alive and obviously the infamous eat your vegetables where Kong shoves the tree in Godzilla's mouth.
Vegetables.
Yeah, that classic meme. That's a really funny moment. And I do like how, you know, back then at least I would have liked how the winners left undecided. You know, it's kind of left up to your opinion. Like, who do you think won? Because, you know, they're technically both not seen swimming away, or one of them swimming away and the other one underwater, and it never really says who won. You know, they kind of just fought and then they went their own separate ways. So like you could argue who won each fight, etc. But it's a good time. And like, obviously the actor who played Taco, who was the pharmaceutical guy, mentioned he was a great aspect of the film. Super funny. He was a lot of physical comedy, like the Japanese kind of Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin. He was really funny and he had a lot of moment stealing scenes. But I think that he was so good, he wasn't in the movie enough, and he overshadowed the other people in the movie, and it was almost like they should have made him the main focus and not the two guys he sent to the island. He doesn't show up at the island till later, right? So I can see why, you know, it was low for that reason. But I liked it, I enjoy it, and I would go back and watch it for sure. It's definitely one I really enjoy. So yeah, the last one in our medium tier ranking, number 8. What do you have, Josh, for your top medium tier? At number 8,
I have Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Nice choice.
This one's a simple one. I just really enjoyed Ghidorah itself.
Yeah,
it had a long time to get there, but the Rodan looks weird as hell in that one. So like that's a downside, because like, you know, clearly back to the last one where they finally fixed the suit and it doesn't look like he has an egg in his head.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy thoroughly how they finally created like the major villain, you know, like the major guy, like the Joker of the series kind of moment. And now all of, you know, the people that were enemies now have to come together to kind of destroy him to like defend themselves. I don't know. I really enjoyed that one overall.
And I feel like
It,
that fact
it
really
had a
puts
lot of
Ghidorah high.
payout. Yeah, it had a lot of payout. And then like, you know me as a person, so like I always enjoy like that weird person. So like that's now my top tiered guy, my kaiju.
Yeah.
That's my guy right there.
And I like too the Ghidorah's from space, and he's not just a ground creature, and it leaves a little mystery on like I do like that. That's the one
Trying
thing
to
I
add a little
actually
more into it.
yeah, I forgot. That's one thing I wanted to mention when I was talking about Ghidorah as well is I like how in this one, unlike the other movies, they really don't give you like they just say he's from space and you kind of don't see him in space. So he's kind of like this mystical creature from mythology that no one really knows what to expect. They leave a lot of mystery to it. They don't expose a lot of like the truth. So it kind of leaves you to ponder and wonder about him. So I would say if they fix the like the intro story, like the build up scenes, if they fix that in the Rodan costume, I think that this film, even I think you would agree, would be higher than other Ghidorah appearances if they
Oh,
fix
most
those.
likely. 1,000%.
Because I feel like he's the most intimidating in that movie because of how he's represented.
Yeah, like I liked the whole concept, you know, of like the brainwashing kind of stuff and whatnot. Like we've already kind of talked about it since you already put it on your list, so it works out. Overall, really good movie. Just wish there was a little better storyline to it other than he's from space. But like I do like that because you're trying to add other elements to it, not just saying that all kaijus are basically already on Earth, just kind of wandering around.
Yeah.
You know, it's just adding a little extra.
A little extra something, something.
Yeah. All right, you're 8.
All right, my number 8, last of the medium tier. Josh is already rolling over in his grave. Terror of Mecha Godzilla.
Bruh.
I'd like to
just good movie.
Officially come out and say from now on, like in my mind, these are all cream of the crop Godzilla films, and I had a really hard time, especially being a lifelong watcher and fan. It was really hard for me to really organize these last ones. Obviously the top 3 are different, but like up until then, like these all are really tossed up and kind of tied in my mind. But this is like just how I boiled it down and merited it. What I do love about Terror of Mechagodzilla, which gets it kind of high on the medium tier list, why I love it, the Mechagodzilla design, great. The special effects, great. The fact that Ishiro Honda and everyone came back for this one last movie, like you can tell the love and the care of the old Godzilla films was there for this movie. And it is really phenomenal. And I like the whole bionic woman, having the torn personality between machine and human and like love and control, and how like her father's being twisted by the aliens to do it. And obviously it's Kiko Harada's last Godzilla film that he portrayed it in as well, which definitely holds it in high merit. It's simply low on my list because watching it back to back with Mecha G, and honestly, I think Josh will mention it when he does his ranking. This is the reason he loves it, but this is the reason I found it kind of lazy, is that it's just kind of a rehash of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I know it's like a sequel to continue the story, but like the fact that they use like the same actors, even though he died in the last one, but now he's a different person. There's little things that bug me in it. But there's also a lot of cool things about it. But there are some plot holes that I'm not a big fan of. But it is an incredible film. The ending fight scene is amazing. And I don't like how they kind of just disregard King Shizar and don't really talk about him and just kind of banished him from the series. Being a lover of that character, I felt a little hurt by that. But like simply like I just had to put it there because the other films, there's just more I loved about the other films. That's the only reason it's number 8 for me. All right, so let's dive right into our high tier list now. We're getting down to the top. I think we have 7 left. So these are 7 films I would say, Josh, if you only wanted to watch the Showa series, these are like the movies you would recommend people watch.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel confident saying that too.
Yeah. I mean, I would be pretty good with these ones.
I'd say more top 5. Maybe the 6 and 7 are a little meh, but definitely the top 5.
There's a few I would just throw in there just for laughs and be like, well, you may as well. But other than that, I'm pretty confident.
I think at the end we'll start thinking about it now too. At the end, if we could say any 3 Godzilla films that you would show from the Showa era to someone who's never seen a Godzilla film, what 3 would you show them? But we'll get to that at the end. So number 7, Josh, what do you have for your first in the high tier category for 7?
I have Zilla versus Megalon. It's the first one with Jet Jaguar, which is
The one and
awesome.
only.
And I wasn't expecting to like him as much as I did in the end. He also kind of reminded me of the Green Goblin, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Um, it also had the kaiju with like the beetle kaiju. So that was pretty
Megalon,
cool.
yeah, with the drill
So like
hands and stuff.
started to add more kaijus to it, which I just always enjoy.
What
I
about
just
those car
really
stunts?
Yeah, but I know you really enjoy the car stunts, but I just really enjoy when they're starting to throw in more characters into it, because at this point we're already using like, the 4 or 5 characters over and over again.
Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla, Ghidorah.
Yeah, so like we're at the point where
Angus.
now we basically just got 2 in one movie, like 2 new ones. So I'm like, I like that. And
Yeah.
like, yes, there was a lot of good race car scenes and like good sports cars and whatnot. So yeah, I really liked that one. And that's gonna be like my least of the top ones because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Story was well paced.
I already
I liked
respect
it.
you for having it in your high tier, sir. Because most people would have that in their low tier, so I already respect you.
I liked it.
All right, 7 for me. Surprisingly, to Josh, my 7 is Destroy All Monsters. And I'm not gonna lie here, the whole movie, kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. The buildup takes forever, and like, but the thing that puts this movie so high in the list and why it's above Terror of Mecha G for that reason, because I have to explain myself here to Josh and to everybody. The reason it's above those films is simply because the amount of kaiju that are in this film. This is the first time in movie history almost that a studio has taken all of their different movies, all their different creatures from like Atragon, Frankenstein Conquers the World, you take from Mothra, you take from Godzilla, Rodan. Everybody is just piled, all of the monsters they've had up until this point are in one film. And I think it's super funny looking at it from today's point of view because every studio is trying to start their own multiverse. You get Marvel did it now successfully, and now all these, DC's trying to do it. The MonsterVerse, even the newer Godzilla movies are trying to do it. The Universal monster movies are trying to do it. Like everyone's trying to create their own cinematic universe now. And look at Toho sitting back, doing it first before everybody. And like it's definitely not the best quality film wise, but like Josh was saying, there's a lot of funny moments in it. Like I like the guy jumping out the window. I think that's really funny. And I like the whole like I feel like the control plot in that one is done a little better that to say like Ghidorah where it's like hypnotizing and stuff like that. I definitely like Destroy All Monsters for that. It definitely has a lot of merit for that in my opinion. But my favorite thing about Destroy All Monsters is when it boils down to that last glorious 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes, we get so many intense fight scenes, not to mention earlier in the film, like, where Godzilla first makes landfall in New York and Manda's there too. And there's that really cool scene where Manda destroys the bridge and you see Godzilla destroying stuff in the background and all the monsters are invading different places all over the world. I think it was the first Godzilla film to really leave Japan and go to like other places in the world as well, which I thought was cool. And the fact that it's in the future, but it's like 19X, 90X. So it's like technically in the 90s, but like it's like so outdated even
Future
by that point.
90s.
Yeah. But the ending 10 minutes, you get Ghidorah just, and this is probably why Josh didn't like it. Ghidorah is so underused in that ending fight scene. The poor guy comes down and he just gets destroyed and gang beat by all these monsters to the point where he's like clearly dead on the ground and they're still just beating his ass. And it's like almost hard to watch because of how bad you feel for him. But there's so many great moments like Gorosaurus doing the kangaroo kick, Mothra, I believe, I could be wrong. I could be mixing Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster, but when Rodan and Mothra team up, regardless of what film that is, it has to be mentioned. It's great. But there's just so many intense fight scenes, where they're just like gang beating Ghidorah and like holding him up like he's like, they're just robbing him for his lunch money. Brutal. But the amount of kaiju alone in that film is really what does it for me. And to see all of those monsters in one movie without having to watch all the movies, it's like a dream come true. So that is only the reason why it's high on my list. I think the overall story is a little lackluster and it's definitely not up to quality par sake, but yeah, it's my number 7. That's all I'll say on Destroy All Monsters. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. That. Yeah.
Every time. That's all I keep thinking about.
Alrighty, so number 6, we'll keep scurrying along here.
Screwing around.
Yeah, we're screwing around. That's the issue. Alrighty, number 6, Josh. What do you got for 6?
Zilla raids again.
I hate
Second
you.
black. Yeah, well, I don't care. It was the second black and white movie that we watched. So I was kind of like in that moment of just kind of digging it. And I don't know. Overall, I just really liked it. I liked the burial of him, them trying to figure out how to get rid of Godzilla in the end.
Okay.
I don't know. I
Like
really
the
enjoyed it myself because I also was like preparing, right? We watched the first one twice and then this, and I was like, all right, all right. So I was kind of getting in like the thing, and then that's kind of the when it changed to color, I was like thrown off.
and
So
King
me
Kong was
personally, I
silly.
really
That was the
enjoyed it.
last serious one, right? I would
Yeah.
say.
So like I kind of enjoyed it myself.
Yeah, and like I
And
said,
like
it's shorter
Anguirus
too,
was in
right?
it as well. So like
Yeah,
there's no negatives to it. I just wish they would use Anguirus a little better. But
our little boy's been put to sleep for 30 years now.
yeah, but overall, that's my 6, and I really enjoyed it. I liked that one.
I feel okay. I understand. I understand why it's your sixth, but I also understand why it's my 14th. Okay, moving
Oof.
so my number 6 is Mothra versus Godzilla. Um, the reason Mothra versus Godzilla is up that high on the list, I do love the corporate greed angle that was in the Mothra film. And I feel like this one was kind of like, we'll get to the next Ghidorah film, but kind of like what they do with Ghidorah. You know, they made Mothra and they're like, okay, well, we can do better. You know, we have her origin, but we can use the same story, but make it better. And what better way than give Mothra a rival? Because Mothra is a good character. You know, it's weird to see a character who's meant to be protector of the earth destroying the earth. That's why it kind of threw me off in the original Mothra. I know she was getting back at humanity for greed and for kidnapping her people, but I feel like Mothra versus Godzilla still has that feeling of it, but it also has the savior element because she ends up siding with the humans after they sort out their differences and exterminate the greed and to take out Godzilla. I do like that. Things I don't like about it, the same reason Josh doesn't like it. I think that the ending fight scene with the two larvae was a very bad idea. I think the film should have started off with maybe, you know, Mothra staying on the island and her two offspring going to fight because they're younger and stronger. And then maybe like one of them loses and then Mothra comes in and helps fight at the end. I think it would have been a little more successful that way. However, I do love the Godzilla suit so much in that movie. It's one of my favorite Goji suits. And like the erupting from underground Godzilla scene and Godzilla's head catching on fire. These are just iconic moments I will never be able to unsee out of my brain. Like it's just pure, I would say it's just pure nostalgia for me why this movie is so high on my list. And it's my favorite versus movie that came up in the series for sure. That was like the first one that was like that. And I really did enjoy. I think it was the first Godzilla movie that had versus in the title. Just gonna quickly check that. So I'm not, I mean, besides obviously King Kong versus Godzilla. I think that's the other nice thing about it too, is the first three Godzilla raids again, and King Kong versus Godzilla. And then Toho kind of took a break and went and did like, you know, Rodan and Mothra. And then they came back with Mothra versus Godzilla. So Godzilla had a break at that point. And, you know, I think coming from Godzilla versus King Kong, like the suit in that movie, to Mothra versus Godzilla was a significant upgrade. And I think seeing that jump, especially watching them with Josh, was like really cool to finally see the Godzilla I grew up loving all of a sudden become who he actually, what he looks like. And I do love the bad guys in that one. I thought they were funny how they end up, you know, turning on each other and killing each other in the end. So like the monsters didn't even have to do anything. It just shows that greed corrupts. And I like a lot of the subliminal messaging in it. But yeah, that's why I hold that one in high esteem at my number 6. All right, we're breaking into the top 5, folks. So these are movies that we enjoyed the most out of the series. And we'll probably be in our, I mean, we'll get to the point afterwards, but these would almost probably be, at least 2 of them would be the ones we would recommend people to watch first. So Josh, what do you have at your number 5? Top 5, let's go. Woo!
I have Godzilla versus. Oh, sorry, everyone. It decides to message me all at once. I have Godzilla versus Gigan.
My man.
I feel like that's a pretty high one up there. You know, like it's got the whole theme park, which I really enjoyed because like theme parks and it's Godzilla-esque. It has cockroaches that wear skin suits of dead people. Like there's that dude that's always eating. And then like it's basically a giant sex doll for Godzilla. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. There was lots of laughs. The whole story kept my attention the entire time. Overall, 10 out of 10. I liked that one.
I also
and also
have,
Gigan was really dope because I wasn't expecting him at to look as rad. And then when he comes out, you're just like, all right, cool.
You'll notice a lot of these top 5s, me and Josh are going to have a lot of the same. 5 is also Godzilla versus Gigan for me. And honestly, everything Josh just said, I love about it, especially the space cockroaches. I think that's so cool and creepy. And I love how they're revealed with the shadow on the wall. It was such a brilliant way to make it, not look cheesy, but also mysterious and creepy. I thought it was a really great idea, great angle. I love how our main character, rather than the typical like savvy relationship, I love how him and his girlfriend are like, she's really like mean and like controlling, and he's like kind of like whipped, and like she's a black belt. I thought it like broke a lot of cliches in the Godzilla films up to that point, and I really do I love the alien plots. As you can tell, if you've watched the series, our top 5 now, there's at least 3 movies in our top 5 that are alien invasion plots at this point. And I feel like this is definitely better than, like we talked about, Destroy All Monsters. It's definitely a better invasion plot than that one. It's definitely not the best aliens, but I really love the diversity and how different it was. And I love Gigan's design, as Josh mentioned. I think it was the first kaiju that really, Ghidorah was interesting, obviously being an alien and whatnot, being really different, but I feel like Gigan was really the first one to, Ghidorah is still a dragon, like a Hydra, but what the fuck is Gigan? He's a giant chicken cyclops with a buzzsaw for a belly and giant swords for hands. You can't get any more insane than that. And I really think that for such a bizarre character, he fits so at home with the kaiju lineup of the Showa series.
I'd have to agree 100%.
Yeah, and I feel like and the fact that Ghidorah comes down as well, and it's like the 2 aliens and the 2 creepy monsters who don't belong fighting with the cockroach people. It's just a banger. It definitely has its weird moments. Like, it's definitely got a lot of, like, the story could be a little more solid, but I thought the balance of comedy elements in this one and seriousness was really well done. It's just a good time movie. A lot of these movies, and you'll notice me and Josh just like to have a good time when we watch these. So that's why our top 5 are really good time movies, not necessarily cinematic masterpieces. If we were going for like what movie looked the best, this list would be a lot different.
Oh, 100%. Like, I really enjoyed that they kind of, if they looked at like American horror movies, right? Like, replace the theme park with a campsite, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So like, that's kind of why I really enjoyed this one, because I was getting a lot of horror movie vibes, but it's like, this is not a horror movie. This is Godzilla. And you can tell that, but it's still using those to their advantages, especially with the cockroach scene with like the lights and them like squiggling on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, that's something you would see in like The Fly, and you're just like, oh shit, cool.
Just go bloop.
Yeah, just go bloop. But see, exactly, like that moment, I'm like, I really enjoyed that one. So I would definitely recommend that one. That's my number 5 and your number 5. So that was an easy one. Number 4.
I think our 4 is the same. What's your 4? Ready, Josh? We'll say it at the same time. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Invasion of Astro Monster. Yeah.
Good housekeeping.
So number 4 for us is Invasion of
Astro
Monster. You can just nerd out. Are you sure?
Yeah. The only thing I want to say is Ghidorah.
Yeah. I think this goes back to when we were talking about Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. Like, yeah, it was awesome. It was a great introduction. But this film is definitely like the Mothra versus Godzilla to Mothra. They took their idea and they went, hey, we can do this better. And I think that's why it came right after Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. A lot of it had to do with, cha-ching, the cash, because Ghidorah brought a lot of people into the box office. And they're like, well, yeah, let's do this again. Yeah, he's awesome. But I feel like this movie nails all the Godzilla angles besides just the cool monster. I feel like it does. This one probably does the alien invasion plot. Even like, you'll see one of our other films in our top next top ones is also an alien invasion plot, but I feel like from the alien side of things, the Exilians are the best alien race from the Showa series, hands down. The Teletubby looking Cyclops glass wearing all look the same alien race, and I think their whole thing with how they give Earth the cure for cancer in return for them boring the kaiju was such a good ploy to have control over the kaiju, therefore to destroy Earth, because they want a proper water resource. Like, there's just so many good plot devices in this movie that aren't obvious in your face, and they actually generally shock you when they happen. And I think that's you still have like kind of like that, ooh, maybe they're bad, maybe they're not the whole time, but you never know why. And I think that's my favorite thing about this one. And the fact that you get to see Godzilla fight in space, like, come on. Guys.
And you also get Nick Adams for the first time. So
yeah.
Like, that's one of the first American actors to go into the Godzilla franchise that we were getting. Yeah. So I think that was just a nice little,
it wasn't,
trying
imposed.
something new. No,
it wasn't
just
like
trying
Godzilla
something.
King of the Monsters where Raymond Burr was just added in over top of the other actors. He was actually on set and acted.
A main character kind of moment. And then weren't you telling me that like he fell in love with one of the other people on set, and there's a lot of
behind the scenes drama, and like he ended up falling and having an affair and falling in love with the actress in real life who he was supposed to be loving in the movie. So there was a lot of real chemistry going on. So it really helped sell the romance in that movie when usually the romances were kind of bland and stale.
Acting was really good. I don't know. Overall, good movie. Good movie.
Go
Would
Glenn.
recommend. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for Glenn.
Glenn, whoever Glenn is.
Did it for Nick Adams.
All right.
All right. So that's Invasion of Ash Monsters. Great. I mean, it has the Godzilla dance in space too. So that's legendary.
Now for the next two, I know we disagree.
I know. Number 3.
For you or me?
You go first.
Mine's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Okay, I agree with that one. That's okay.
I really liked that one personally. I liked all of the whole story was really well done. I mean, compared to what we were getting beforehand. I wish personally they either did more with King Caesar, that was his name, I believe. Caesar, or just left him out because he was kind of a pointless kaiju in my opinion. They may as well have just reused someone. Like if you're gonna add someone new, add more story to it because you're already adding it. So that would be my one kind of moment. Okay. But overall, I was really looking forward to like the Mecha Godzilla, like space titanium version of Godzilla. How can you not want, like a Godzilla to fight another Godzilla? Well, let's see which one's gonna come out on top. And then in the end, we get that sweet ass Mecha Godzilla jaw snap thing, head twist off. So like overall, good movie. Liked it.
All right. Here's the one. I might get a lot of hate for this one. You either agree or you don't agree to the max. Number 3 for me, Lucas. I love
just Lucas.
Godzilla versus Megalon.
Yeah.
I know it's cheesy as hell, but I want to point out, I love the fact that this was another contest-driven Godzilla film where a kid got to design a monster. And I know that it looked completely different. Red Alone looked completely different than Jet Jaguar. But I think it was the smartest idea to, because originally they're like, they can't make the movie just about him. So let's throw Godzilla in the mix. I feel like that movie just has such a good balance of Godzilla, new kaiju, a kind of invasion plot because they're the people who live underground coming up. Now, don't get me wrong. There's lots of issues with this movie. There's pornography, but there's lots of issues with this movie. Besides the pornography, there's a lot of issues, like a lot of plot holes and stuff. And I get that, people. I understand. But for this movie, this is very much a turn off your brain and enjoy it. And if you're able to do that, it will rock your world. It's just such a good time. And some of the special effects, like when Megalon breaks the dam, unbelievable. And I know there's a lot of bad special effects because it's one of the lowest budgeted Godzilla films, but that's just almost makes it more impressive for what they were able to do with such a low budget. And we got to talk about the car chases. God damn, a man full out runs at a car on a motorcycle and hops over it, and it's 100% real, no wires. That's all I gotta say. That's impressive. And the car is driving downstairs, and I like how every character had a thing going on that contributed to the story. The inventor who made Jet Jaguar and invented all the things that helped him through the movie. And then the brother or the friend was a race car driver who was like able to get to plan A to point B and to chase the bad guys. Like every little bit of it worked. And I love the ending theme song. That's a big part of it. I love the soundtrack for this one. I grew up with that movie. It's very nostalgic for me, and that's why it's a personal favorite. I understand it's probably not the best film, and it would be higher if I was ranking them in quality, but my own personal opinion, that is my top third favorite Godzilla film for the Showa series. All right. Boiling down to the final two.
Now we're getting there.
Chances are, folks, if you like Godzilla and you haven't seen these two movies, go watch them. What are you doing? That's basically what these are.
Well, maybe on my opinion, Lucas might not agree on this one.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Josh, you go ahead, get your number 2.
All right. So my number 2 is Terra Mecha Godzilla. You might not agree. You got a lot of good points.
I gotta say, mine was 8.
I was like, you mostly got a lot of the points, but for me personally, Eye Patch Man is definitely my homeboy and my favorite actor throughout him. So it was the last time that we got him in a movie. Yeah. I like the whole concept that right off the bat, we already got a revenge scheme that they were already going to plot to redo Mechagodzilla, and we're coming right back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just really liked that. It was for me, it was kind of 3 into 2 because it was just kind of like a Die Hard situation where I need to watch the other one and then that one.
It was a true
I like
sequel.
The whole revenge. Yeah, exactly. Like I liked the whole revenge sequence. I like the bionic woman part. Like that was cool. I personally could have done without the Titansaurus or whatever.
Titanosaurus, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, do more with it, like that character. But overall, that would be mine. Like you got all the points basically. It's not an amazing movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially watching Mechagodzilla, then Terror of
Well, it makes sense
Mechagodzilla.
with third being your third favorite being Mecha G anyway. It makes sense that this one would come next because they pretty much go hand in hand with each other in a story.
Exactly. Like if you just literally watch them in sequence, you'd be fine. It's just like, oh, cool, they're pissed. We're gonna go get revenge.
So would you say if you're gonna watch Terror of Mechagodzilla, you definitely should watch Mecha G first?
Yeah. I'd have to say that.
Weird.
Just because if you started with just Terror of Mechagodzilla, it would basically be them just wandering around a robot's head, and you'd be like, okay. I mean, I guess you could if you just wanted to like be like, all right, well, they're just starting, this is the only one. But if you know that we watched the other one, it's not. So anyways, that's my number 2.
And we got to point out too as well. And it's like you'd have to watch the first one first because then you don't get the funny reveal at the end of Terror Mechagodzilla. Spoiler alert again, folks, but you've been warned already. But just in case, the ending when he rips off Mechagodzilla's head to try and dispatch him the same way, but they thought of it and they have a backup plan. It's
but
funny.
That's exactly why I enjoyed that one, because you're like, nope, not again, boy.
So you almost got to watch the other one first.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed that one because if you watch that, like you just said, you wouldn't understand certain parts, but I guess you could if you really wanted to.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with my number 2 being Godzilla versus Mecha G, the first one in that sequel, kind of. Like Josh said, a lot of it already. My favorite things about this movie are simply, one, Mechagodzilla is a great design. I think that the original suit is equally tied, or at least second tier, with the Millennium Mecha, which I mean, we'll get to when we get to the Millennium series. I'm not a big fan of the Heisei Mecha. I think he looks a little weird. But I really love the original, like this one from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So I love the suit. I love the space simians, like the Black Hole Force. I'm drawing a blank. Black Hole Force 5, I believe is their name. But their alien race, how they turn into like the apes with the mutated faces, and they use kind of a similar cloaking technology to the roaches from Godzilla versus Gigan. I love that. But my favorite thing about this movie is this is the last movie that Jun Fukuda did. And I feel like he was really into explosions and spectacle. And I love the way he filmed and composited shots. And I feel like this one does such a good job with the fight scenes and like not knowing what's going on and really making you part of the story. I feel like this one grounds, like this is probably, besides, we'll get to our top one, besides that one, this is the truest film. Like this is a film, you know what I mean? Like the other movies, like, yeah, they're Godzilla movies. This is a film. Like this is proper setup. You can watch it without knowing who Godzilla is and still enjoy it. It has good character setup. It has good character motivations. It keeps you intrigued. I love King Shizar. He's one of my favorite underused kaijus.
Very like underused a lot though. More.
See? Right? Like the whole idea that
if you're going to add him,
maintain energy and redirect it back, and the whole, like, him being an ancient god who is seen in the premonition by this ancient family bloodline, and she has to bring him back. And then the whole plot device of them stealing the statue and the aliens trying to withhold it so that because they know that creature would help Godzilla because it was part of the prophecy. And obviously the beginning imposter Godzilla fight is one of the best scenes in Godzilla history, where Godzilla fighting Godzilla, and then he slowly reveals that it's Mechagodzilla, and we get that amazing full toe-to-head shot of all Mecha G's different weapons working, and the amazing booming soundtrack, like it's so good, like such a banging movie. And if you haven't seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, even if you're not a Godzilla fan, if you're able to watch that, do not let it blow past you in the breeze, because it is definitely worth a watch, folks. Okay, it's all been building up to this moment. A lot of you can already guess which one it is, even if you haven't seen Godzilla before. Me and Josh and I's first and best Godzilla movie we can probably agree on in the entire Showa series is the one, the only 1954 Gojira. We would like to say it's the Japanese version, not the American edit.
Yeah, 100%.
The American edit is still good, but nowhere up to quality as the original.
Always
Josh,
watch original.
What did you think? I wouldn't say the first time, because the first time was different, but the second time we watched it, so on the podcast, how did you feel emotionally walking out of that movie?
Well, like, because we watched it twice, I kind of already knew what I was getting myself into for the movie wise. But both times, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I really liked the kind of Frankenstein-esque thing. We get the eye patch man for the first time.
Super young and handsome.
Yeah, like we get a sacrifice like in the end of the movie that I was not expecting, to be honest. Like I just wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh shit, how are they gonna kill him? And we were even laughing, being like, haha, electricity, nope. Bombs, nope. So like there was a lot to the movie itself that was developed. Even when like there was fighting scenes, you didn't see like blood or anything, like it's kind of a proper movie. I just think it was really well done and kind of a Frankenstein-esque. I really liked each part. I liked the concept of how they were gonna kill him in the end. And we also clearly watched it twice, so
did
that
it
was
live up
pretty
to your
cool too.
expectations of what the first Godzilla film would be if you thought of it before watching these, or did it exceed your expectations?
Because like I've watched them all now, this is still going to be my favorite one. Like there's little things about the other ones that I don't like, for in the sense of you can see like seams in the suits. The OG one was like in black and white, so like it hit a lot of those imperfections that you just don't see. So it hit home to me a lot more. Like I really enjoyed that one. And it also seemed like more scary in a sense. Like when they created that, it just seemed more spooky. Like I imagine people going there and be like, holy shit, like that could be real, like when our parents saw Jaws for the first time kind of moment.
Oh, yeah.
But that's how I view it. But if you couldn't say that about like the Jet Jaguar one, or really any of the other ones where it's like, honestly, I wouldn't be scared. But like when that came out, I can just imagine it in my head. Like, and also the miniature work on that movie, 10 out of 10.
Subaraya.
Like for that time period, like the actor in the suit, 10 out of 10. The suit is concrete, so like kudos.
Yeah.
Like I could just keep going on little points of why I either liked it. There's a lot more that I like than dislike on that one.
And I feel like too, and I feel like you can agree too, every Godzilla film, excluding this one, kind of feels like it's in its own world. Like you're like, yeah, this is the Godzilla movie, blah, blah, blah. When you watch Gojira, the first one, it feels real. Like it
feels different.
It feels different and it feels grounded in reality. Like this actually happened. Like you're watching almost like a history news report on what actually happened.
True crime kind of thing going on, like a BBC report or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And it really hits home with the whole idea of what it stands for too, being like very like representative of like post-nuclear Japan and like what nuclear warfare does and nuclear power can threaten a nation and what it can turn into. And not to mention like when we watch it, how real it feels. Can you imagine being in a theater in 1954 and seeing that and like how you would feel walking out of that movie? Because in that time period, if a train drew, like if there was a train and it was coming towards a camera at a movie theater, people would like run out of the theater scared. Can you imagine what they thought of when they saw this movie in 1954?
Exactly.
It's amazing. No wonder it did so well. It's movie so ahead of its time, and
it's like horror without the horror. Like quite literally, it's like this would have started it in a weird way. Kind of Frankenstein-esque.
Like a lot of people watch the newer Godzilla films, even the Americanized version of this one, but mainly the newer ones, and go, how did movies like this end up with so many films? And until you watch this very first movie, you will never understand. Because it is the perfect explanation on why it did so well and why it is what it is and why Godzilla has become what he is today. If you're watching this and you haven't seen Gojira, what are you doing? One, because you're on the wrong podcast. Or go watch it for sure. It's really easy to get your hands on. Even if you only have the American version, still watch it. Do yourself some justice and watch this film. I would
YouTube
definitely
probably has some at this point.
Yeah, even if you get to watch just scenes from it, this movie, folks, it's unbelievable. Even we dabbled into it a bit going into it. Josh wasn't a huge lover of black and white
local
films.
Movie store,
right? Like Josh didn't like black and white films, but he watched this and blew his socks off. So even if you yourself thinking, oh, I don't like black and white films, I find them hard to get into, watch it.
See, like besides Clerks and Psycho, now these two are on my list.
Yeah, they're just because watch this film.
I could definitely do that.
All right, folks, we pretty much said all we could about Gojira and all the other films. So we'll kind of end with giving us, we'll do a little swirl. I'll do my my top 3 list. So Josh, if you had to recommend 3 films from the Showa series to someone who has never seen a Godzilla film before, what would your 3 movies be? I'll start with mine so you can kind of compile your list.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, you got to give me a minute.
Yeah. So folks, if I was to recommend, if you have never seen Godzilla and you only have time to watch 3 films from the Showa era, And I think at least if we were talking all Godzilla films, even 2 of these movies would be included in your top 5. You should watch it of all of them. So my top 3 movies you should definitely watch if you haven't seen them from the Showa Godzilla movie are, we'll start with the obvious first one, Gojira, as we just said. Go watch it. What are you doing with your life? That is the first one you show somebody to. I mean, unless they're really comedic and they don't like serious movies, maybe show them something else. But if they like movies and they're just, your average moviegoer, show them Gojira, regardless of their age, their opinion, they will love it. It is a great film. Number 2, I would recommend Invasion of Astro Monster. And the reason for that being is it has an American actor in it. So it's maybe eases some of the tension of someone maybe who is more used to North American films, not so many Japanese or actors out of their ethnicity. So it's a little more close to home for that angle. And it has the best alien invasion plot, and it features some of the best monsters. We get Rodan, Godzilla, Ghidorah, and that's it, without it being too overcrowded with Mothra and all these other things. I think it works really great as an introduction to show what Godzilla can do and how silly Godzilla movies can get, but without it, jumping the shark and going too far. I think it's a pretty good satire. So I would say Gojira and Invasion of Astro Monster for 2. The third one is kind of a mix-up for me. I would either say out of 2 things, if they are more goofy and they're more into some silly films and they want something with a little character, I would say watch Godzilla versus Gigan. If they were more into Gojira and they liked the original better, I would say show them Godzilla versus Mecha-G. So I would say in the grand scheme of things, maybe make them watch Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Invasion of Astro Monster, and the original Gojira. If they're a little more lighthearted and comedic friendly, maybe make them watch Godzilla versus Gigan. Alrighty, Josh. Do you think you have a list of 3 movies you should definitely watch from the Showa series if you've never seen a Godzilla film?
So funny thing about that is that our 1 and 2 are the same. So like the OG 54 Godzilla.
Yep.
And then my number 2 would be Invasion of Astro Monster, because I really like that it was also kind of in the middle of the time period of what we were watching, I guess. So like, you're kind of getting better costumes, better work. So you're kind of getting that middle ground.
It was a good
and just because I'm an ass and I feel like everyone should watch it for a laugh, Son of Godzilla. Like even if like don't even like, just put it on and laugh at it. If
right.
You want to try and see each different, like, this is kind of the worst of the worst, that, this is the best. And then you're kind of in that middle ground.
All right. I see that. I get that.
You know what I mean?
That's just almost like Godzilla versus Gigan. I get that.
Yeah. Cause like, it's like, I do have a hatred for Son of Zilla, but if you were to just watch it, you'd be like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, just so you guys know,
but this is hilarious.
That just explains why these movies are so great, folks. Josh's least favorite, that was his 15, his lowest tier movie out of the series, but it's in the top 3 that he would recommend for you to watch. It just shows why you need to watch these movies and just enjoy yourself.
So weirdly funny and entertaining that you can kind of just vibe to it. So that's where I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
You get the best to the worst. And then, even if you just watch those 3, all right, we just watched the entire period. Add in different kaijus.
Alrighty, folks. So that pretty much ties up to our ending of our Showa series ranked. One, I just want to say a huge thank you if you guys have watched this video or you've been supporting us and watching our videos throughout the podcast history. We loved watching all of these movies, and we dive into these movies a lot deeper, and you get our first impressions of them too. So I definitely recommend, if you have a favorite film that you heard on the list today, go back and watch the episode and give us your opinions on that film, whether you disagree or agree with us. You can also feel free to give us your own list, like I was saying earlier, your own list of your favorites. Rank them yourself and leave them in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions, and who knows, it might even sway some of our opinions, and maybe we'll see things that we didn't really quite see before. And anytime we can talk kaiju is a good day on our books. So we would love to hear your guys' opinions. As well, we have started, as we said, we started the Heisei series, and we will also be doing a ranking of the Heisei 7 films, which I can't wait to do. And I will have a horrible time trying to rank those because I love them so much. There's one I can easily put at the bottom. I'm not going to say it because we haven't gotten to them yet. But I love that series so very much.
3 for you then.
Yeah. Even if I was doing my top 5 over time, there'd be at least 3 from that series that would be in my top 5. So the Heisei series we'll do individual rankings for every era. Showa we did now, obviously. We'll do Heisei, we'll do Millennium, and we'll do Reiwa. And then when we watch everything, we will do a complete breakdown and ranking of every Kaiju Godzilla film done up until today. which I mean will be a long ass video, but we will get through it and make it as quick and painless for you guys as
It's
possible.
not like they aren't always long.
Exactly. I mean, they get a little longer in future.
You started this one with let's aim for a half hour, just so everyone knows. Let's see how long this one goes.
It's an hour and 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. See, I'm just saying.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for joining our ranking. To agree or to disagree, these are our own opinions. However,
don't get mad at us.
Yeah, please. We love to hear your opinions as well, just as much. So please fight us below in the comments. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate. And until next time, tune in for Heisei Films. We love you guys all so much, and almost as much as we love the Big G, which says a lot. So take care, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Later.